all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. This is the Pegassi Pizza Boy. And I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This is it. This wraps up our season of the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC update, whatever you want to call it, for GTA Online. And two interesting vehicles today. We saved, I won't say the best for last, but definitely probably the most challenging. As you can see, the Pizza Boy, not a lot of speed. Though if you wheelie, it can get up a bit. I think it actually gets better top speed than the Faggio Sport. It's basically the same bike, but slightly different handling and ability to wheelie gives it a bit more speed. To the point I actually kind of managed to go past the corner. I was surprised. I really thought this was going to be just like a full throttle all the way up type situation. Just at the outset, there are going to be segments of the video where I just speed up the footage because this just took a long time to get up the mountain. You can kind of tell by the runtime of the video, this is a lot longer, about 10 minutes. Both vehicles were slow to get up the mountain, both very similar times as well. I mean, not exactly the same, but pretty doggone close as far as where they wound up in the order of things. They're only separated by 5 positions, the two we did today. And right here, I admit I did not think the Pizza Boy had a shot at all, and this is why. It just does not have any type of uphill grunt at all. If you've done any of the Pizza This delivery missions that take you through the hills just north of the city, you know that this thing can really struggle to get up a hill. And the thing is, you can wheelie to get some extra speed. By the way, I was full on the brakes here and it went all the way back. And this is where we sped it up because there was no point in sitting through the next several minutes to watch all this. This is sped up 500%. But yeah, it just, this thing does not do the best. And when you're on a steep hill, it can be difficult to wheelie. As you saw in that sped up footage, I fell off once because you wheelie just a little bit on a hill and you fall off backwards. So it's just this challenge of finding that sweet spot of you can wheelie to get some speed and to keep it moving, versus, you know, not falling off, because not falling off means you're not going forward, or falling off means you're not going forward. So it was a challenge. And then it just ran out of grunt right here again. It just didn't want to go. I was doing my best to try to rev and then wheelie and rev and then wheelie, but it just wouldn't wheelie. I had to go back just a little bit to a spot that was a little less steep so that I could get a wheelie, and then that got me up there. It is possible, I believe, to get the Pizza Boy up faster. I've mentioned several times I very rarely do like a practice run on the vehicles. I tend to just get on them and go for wheel and off-road. I just think it gives kind of a more authentic result instead of just practicing or, you know, taking like the best of 10 times or something. Plus, I really don't want to drive every vehicle up the mountain 10 times. But I had to update the race that we used for wheel and off-road at the races. And I just decided to give this a shot, since it is going to be down here at the lower end of the results. Once again, an issue where just not enough grunt, so we're going to speed things up here in just a second. But I think we're going to speed up things here. I thought I sped up the footage here. I guess not. Oh, but I guess I didn't need to because I got going again. Okay. But anyways, I wanted to ensure that, you know, if we're going to be racing these, that it's not going to be just everybody getting off their bikes and running, that it was going to be possible to get them up a little bit faster than what I did today. And I did manage to actually get it up quicker. I want to say it was right around 5 minutes, which we're already at 6 minutes now. But it was also in a race setting. I think in the stunt races, it's a little bit harder to fall off on a wheelie, because I was able to pull a lot more wheelies in that stunt race than I was here. So I don't know if like the physics change just a little bit. I know like the camera changes, and that when you like bump into things, it's a little more difficult to fall off on a motorcycle in a stunt race. Not impossible, but it's a little more difficult to do. So I think when we race it, it won't take the amount of time that it took today. But, you know, once we got past some of the steeper bits, it wasn't so bad. We've got one more steep climb ahead of it. But aside from that, the rest of it was pretty easy going. It was all about trying to maintain momentum with this thing. That was about the most extreme wheelie I think I did the entire time. And here we go. Yeah, we've got this steep bit right here, and there we go. Trying to just pull a wheelie. And I know it doesn't look like I'm wheeling all that much, but I was constantly pulling back on the stick to adjust the wheelie angle and keep it moving. You can kind of see it bopping up and down there as I was just looking for that sweet spot. This section is way steeper than it really looks in video. Just walk up there and you'll see the way your character has to walk up this section to get up. It's a bit challenging. What I found hilarious, though, is what we're about to see. You know, all the struggles that we just had, and then it just goes right up to this? Really? What? Anyways, we're up 7 minutes, 48 seconds. So, will it off-road? I mean, it made it, so it gets the yes, and it gets the excited ding and all that, but don't take the Pizza Boy off-road. You'll have a bad time. Especially because when you come back down from any type of elevated spot, this thing has terrible brakes, and we'll see that play out in just a minute. So for stats, as of this video, we have tested 445 vehicles. The Pizza Boy comes in 405th. In fact, there are only 9 vehicles that are lower in the standings than the Pizza Boy that just weren't DNFs, just outright couldn't get up. It is 8.48 seconds slower than the Romero Hearse, which for the longest time was our slowest vehicle. But it is 40.1 seconds faster than the Cerberus. The Cerberus struggled because of its just size. It's just really long. Yeah, I couldn't stop for that corner, and yeah. Spoilers, this bike is going to do something only one other vehicle has ever done in the history of Vulcar Off-Road. By the way, how I was able to back up like this, I don't know. But we're going to speed things up here while I talk about some stats. I thought maybe I could get back up to the trail, and I got quite a ways, but then once it got too steep. So we've tested 20 motorcycles in Wheel It Off-Road, and of course this is dead last at 20th. It is 3 minutes 55.42 seconds slower than the Faggio mod, which makes me think that, you know, if I would have been maybe a little more aggressive in the wheeling, I might have been able to get this up. And I didn't remember the Faggio mod or the Faggio Sport making it the mountain. I thought they both DNF, but I was wrong. In terms of bottom dollar bounties, as of this vehicle, we've tested 17 of them. And by the way, DNF. That's the only other thing that has DNF'd was the Dash Hound. Of course, anytime something DNFs, that's just what has to happen. It doesn't deserve to stay there. But of course, Moore's Mutual, quick call, and now we're back at the top. I did not drive it back up. Commander Hobo graciously lent his cargo bob and brought it back up, and yep, there's the first death. But anyways, out of the 17 vehicles from Bottom Dollar Bounties that we've tested as of the Pizza Boy, it's 17th. It is 4 minutes, 22.25 seconds slower than the Bail Enforcement Burrito, which I thought was going to be the slowest. I wasn't even sure if we could, if we could race the Pizza Boy, but yeah, it is raceable. There's so many, with all the emergency vehicles, there's so many things that we just cannot race, which is unfortunate. But the two we did today wound up being the 2 slowest anyway, so it's not like anything got bumped out of the races. Speaking of that race, it may be delayed a week or two. I'm trying to gauge interest in the community. As people get jobs and other outside interests and things like that beyond gaming, Plus, people just kind of, you know, tired of 10-year-old GTA. Well, 11-year-old GTA almost now. It gets harder and harder to get a good group together. And while Offroad at the races, the dynamic really works best when we've got more people. Up to 8 people can take place in the race, and that's only because I had to use a really small starting line. That's why it's limited to 8. Oh my gosh, falling down the hill again. Do I die again here? I think I do. No. This was a challenge to get back to the bike. It was just me running around back and forth multiple different times. It was very, 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 very frustrating. Yeah, I'm trying to get a good group together for the race. It may just be Raven, Commander Hobo, and myself. That so far those are the only ones who have responded to the poll. By the time you see this video, we may have already recorded Will It Offroad at the races. I don't know just yet. But what I'm going to do here is, I didn't do it in editing, but I am going to speed up the footage a little bit until I get back to the bike. So let's do that right now. And as I faceplant and headbutt Commander Hobo's car and knock it off the rock, man, my character must have some dense muscles. It just freaking knocked the car out of the way. We're back down, and no, you weren't having audio issues. For some reason, I've been having problems with GTA and OBS getting along, and the audio cuts in and out in weird places. And it seems to be like the ambient noises, like just the environmental noises, like vehicles, guns, dialogue, stuff like that is fine. It seems like for some reason OBS is having an issue with the ambient noises. And yep, clotheslined on a tree, knocked myself right off the bike and dead. And if you look, the bike is still moving. It's still going. You can kind of make it out there on the mini map. It is just sliding down the hill as I try to catch back up to it. It's just going and going and going. There's just enough of an incline, and I guess it's light enough that it was just able to slide down the mountain. I thought it had come to a rest at one point, but nope, you can see it's still going. It managed to go all the way down all the hilly, the truly hilly bits before it finally came to a rest. So definitely had a bit of a run that I had to do to get back to my bike. But there it is. Finally, where it levels out a bit is where it came to rest. So it slid that huge distance, which is just insane. Hobo just back there dutifully following me. Cracks me up. It's like the slowest damage descent for him probably ever in a car. But back on the bike, and at least now we're kind of out of all the dangerous areas, I suppose. So hopefully we can get this thing the rest of the way down the mountain without any major problems. How I managed to have that tiny bike still hit the side of one of the culverts, I don't know, but I did deal with it. Wasn't even going to try to get this thing over the woodpile. I was just happy it made it up that little embankment. But we are finally down 5 minutes, 33 seconds. And in terms of damage, well, it has a few scratches. It's a little muddy, I guess, but that's it. There's no damage on this thing. And of course, I died several times, so there is a dead rider situation for damage. Plus just a lot of time that this took. There's our support vehicle from the front and from the back. And that is going to bring us to our final vehicle for this season. The Vulcar Nebula Turbo in Drift Spec. Yep, another drift car. I know that there were other drift cars that came out with this update, but I'm just doing the one. I didn't see the need to do 3 more, plus that would have been an odd number of vehicles, and then what would we have paired for that final week that's not from the DLC? I didn't see the need to spend the money, honestly, in game on 3 different Drift Spec cars that I was then going to just revert back. Right now, as of the time I'm recording this, my Nebula Turbo is still a drift car, just because I knew it was going to wind up being one of the slowest and we're going to have to race it, and I wanted it to be in the race. But just like we did last time, we'll open it up when we do this car, and people will be able to use any of the 4 Drift Spec cars that came with this DLC, which are the Nebula Turbo, the Vorschlaghammer, the Sentinel Classic Wide Body, and the Cypher. I believe I've got that list right. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. By the way, while we're now waiting on the Nebula Turbo to get up the mountain, because it's going to take almost as long as the Pizza Boy did, I want to remind you that you can play Will It Offroad Bingo. The link is in the description. That frickin' tree killed my momentum. The link is in the description down below. You just click on that, and it takes you to the bingo website. Click on generate a new card, and then as things happen in the video, if they're on your card, you tap or click on them. And if you manage to get a bingo, you tell us about it in the comments down below, and you can be our 6th ever winner of the Wood Off-Road Bingo. There we go, we're back to the trail now. And while you're down there in the description, there is also a link to the spreadsheet where I have all the stats of all the vehicles. Well, not all the stats, but all the times and the damage. If you want all the stats, you need to go to GTAcars.net, Ruffy's website, where he has every stat imaginable about every car. But as it pertains to Will It Off-Road, so the ascent, descent, damage descent, as well as its drivetrain, class, and all that good stuff, all in there. And it's broken down by overall, so all 445 on just an overall tab. And the next tab over is by class, so you can, if you want to see how things stack up in their class. Then there's a snow tab for the 50, 60 odd vehicles, I don't even remember how many it is, that we have tested in the snow, and I could not believe that this thing failed right there at the last little bit to get up and over that lip. So now I've got to have these low grip tires maybe bring me to a stop, but then I was trying to just feather the throttle, but in a drift car that doesn't really do much because it just doesn't have any grip anywhere in the range. I mean, that's kind of the point of the way the drift cars are tuned, so that they can drift. But I was just barely on the throttle, and you could see my wheels were just spinning. That was like the minimum input I could put into the controller and actually have anything happen, and it's just wheel spin. So this thing is very rear biased, because you can see the front wheels are not spinning, even though I'm pretty sure, like all the other drift cars, this is all-wheel drive. But yeah, the stats are down there in the spreadsheet, and it's also broken down by DLC. We haven't done every car from every update, but we've done most of them, and so you can see how things stack up even among their DLC. And also down in the description is information on how you can become a channel supporter. There's multiple different ways you can do that, and to say thank you for that, not only here on YouTube, if you're a channel member here on YouTube, you get early access to 100% of my videos that I upload, but through all the other support methods in addition to YouTube, you also can get access to the Vainglorious HQ on the Vainglorious Discord server, which is a supporters only section of Discord. Among many, many things that you get from that channel is a link to the behind the scenes version of all of our community videos. That is an ad-free, less edited version that includes our Discord conversation instead of this voiceover. So you get to see a lot of outtakes, a lot of the shenanigans we get up to, and you don't have to watch any ads, because it is always 100% ad-free. Just turn them off completely, because you know you've already done the support thing, so I'm not going to make it do an ad as well. And all that, like I said, all that information is in the description down below to find out how to become a channel supporter. And of course, the link to the Vainglorious Discord's down there. Even if you're not a channel supporter, we would still love to have you join the server. Come hang out with us. We have a little over 300 people. And I'll admit, it's kind of a quiet server. You know, not a huge amount of activity, but a very good group of people. And we have folks who play from all different platforms, all different types of games. And we would love to have you take part. And if you do, you can join us for recording Will It Off-Road, as well as other community efforts. I even tap into the community for like my Ashley Academy series, for input on other videos that I'm going to be producing and stuff like that. So you can become a big part of the channel. And if you're watching Will It Off-Road regularly, you're already part of the community, so you may as well make it official and join the Discord. And yeah, I had all that stuff that I usually have to like find time in a video to talk about, and we're still not up in the nebula. I didn't speed up any footage here because there wasn't anywhere other than that first climb that I got stuck and had to repeat over and over and over and over again, except for what we're about to come up to. So I didn't really see the need to speed up any of that footage. But yeah, that was never going to work. I was never going to be able to make that turn in a drift car. I don't know why I tried. And I also don't know why I forgot a lesson that I had learned previously. You know, a lot of cars get slowed down by bushes. The drift cars, when they get slowed down by bushes, which you saw during the ascent earlier, I hit a bush with the front right, and it just caused the car to come completely around. Here, I hit the bushes, and it upset my trajectory, and I started wiggling around and could not get up the hill because of that. What you want to do, really any car, but especially the drift cars, is go to the left of this big bush right here that we just went by. Instead of trying to go between them and staying on the trails, I went a little farther back as well just to get a bit more speed, almost too far back. But you want to aim to the left of that bush. It does have a dip that can throw you off, but it's still a better way than trying to go between those two bushes and wind up getting stuck. Of course, didn't have the grip to hold on to the hill, but that's okay. We can take the side approach. We just won't get our little jump over that boulder at the top. And we are finally up. 7 minutes, 6 seconds. So, will it off-road? Yeah, sure. But don't do it. And I'm curious. I forgot to look this up, so you're going to hear me typing here. I forgot to include this. So we did a 706 with a Nebula Turbo in Drift Spec. I'm curious what it did. 347 in standard spec. So, yeah, what's that, like 3.5 extra minutes this took because of it being a drift car? In terms of standings, it is only 5 places higher than the Pizza Boy, coming in at 400th, dead at 400, out of 445 vehicles. It is 10.95 seconds slower than another Drift Spec car, the FR36. It is 1.48 seconds, so basically 1.5 seconds faster than a half track. I don't remember driving the half track up the mountain, but I bet that was a fun one. In terms of sports classics, we have tested 31, and of course this is right there at the bottom, 31st. It is slower than a mariachi tornado, which, wow. 2 minutes, 44 seconds flat slower, which is just crazy. And then out of the 18 bottom dollar bounty vehicles that we have tested as of this vehicle, it is 17th, coming in 3 minutes, 40.8 seconds slower than the bail enforcement burrito, and 41.45 seconds faster than the Pizza Boy that we just tested. Going back down the mountain, I was a bit cautious. I was really afraid of just kind of, overshooting and falling off, and got really close right there. Because since it's a drift car, the brakes don't work best. Well, the brakes I'm sure work fine. It's just there's no grip for the tires to be able to do anything with those brakes. So, yeah, if you can have great brakes in your car, but if you have really crap tires, those brakes aren't going to do a thing for you. I just was at this point. I'm pretty sure I was shouting at the car, just please go straight. Just go in a straight line for like 2 seconds for me, please. This one, I don't remember the other drift car that we took up the mountain being this much of a challenge. I don't know if this is just down on power or has just a different drive bias. Which reminds me, I wanted to check to see, is this all-wheel drive? I'm pretty sure it is. You get to hear me typing again as I go to Bruffy's website. And I am going to click on more filters, and then I am going to go to the DLC and scroll on the bottom for bottom dollar bounties, which will show me the Drift Nebula Turbo, and it is all-wheel drive. Yeah, it just seems really rear biased. I'm sure he has bias in here somewhere. Yeah, I don't really know how to read it. Drive bias front, drive force, and there's bias for the brakes and all that, but I'm not really sure how those numbers work out. He has it all explained if you check it out, and you should go check it out if you're interested in GTA Online cars at all. And even, like, I think he's about to do, like, GTA 4 cars, he said? I'm not sure. Oh, I just barely clipped that barrier. It just spun me around. Sadly, Hobo doesn't get a jump in. He didn't get one earlier because I DNF'd, but this time he tries to go for it and hits the power pole instead. So yeah, we're back at the top for our damage descent. This will go somewhat quicker than the last damage descent, though we still have, what, about 2.5 minutes of video left. So it's, you know, still drift car. It's still gonna present challenges. But hey, at least we're doing a weight savings program by shedding body parts as we go down the mountain and getting hit by those body parts every time we stop, which is always fun to have a part of your car hit your car. Yeah, you try explaining that to somebody. It's like in baseball, where technically you can strike yourself out. It is technically possible to strike yourself out in baseball. I'm not enough of a baseball nerd to explain it properly, but it has something to do with, like, games that get interrupted by a rain delay, and if you then change teams, like, you know, you get picked up by a different team in between when the game gets finished after, you know, months later, it's technically possible to strike yourself out. And I only know that because somebody just made history for being the first person in Major League Baseball to play for both teams in the same game, because like 3 months ago he played for one team, got picked up by the other team now, I think Toronto was what he got picked up by. Once again, not even trying to get over the woodpile. Let's stop talking about baseball, let's talk about Will and Offroad. I gotta have something to talk about. This video's long. And we are finally down 1 minute 41 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage on the Nebula Turbo, as my voice tries to give out. Most of the windows are gone, all the headlights are busted out, some of the taillights are too. The fenders and the bumpers are missing, and the hood, the doors, and the trunk will not close. And of course, we'll take a look at Hobo's non-drift, but looks almost just like mine. We went with very similar schemes from the front and from the back, and I want to thank you so much for watching this season of Will and Offroad. We will be back with Will and Offroad, the races with the 2 fastest and the 2 slowest, and then of course next update it'll all kick off again. There's a million things you could have watched today. You chose this video, and I greatly appreciate it. Till next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.